By the end of today's episode, you'll know all about mindset and how an amazing woman by the name of Paulette Szalay completely turned her life around simply by using her mindset. Welcome to the Actor's Career Compass, where we help aspiring screen actors find high-quality auditions, sign with great agents, and book major roles in legit productions. I'm your host, Martin Benson, and in today's episode, I interview Paulette Szalay, who shares tips and strategies actors can use to break through insurmountable odds and completely change the trajectory of their lives. Hey everybody, I am excited to introduce my guest today, Paulette Szalay. She lost 110 pounds, survived a stroke, became a model, an actress, and now a writer at the age of 58. Paulette is going to take us on her weight loss journey, her stroke recovery, and how she became a model and actress and writer of her upcoming book. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here, Paulette. Can you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Well, thank you, Martin. Thank you for having me on your show today. I'm super excited to talk to you and your listeners about my weight loss journey and my stroke journey with what I went through and where I am today. And so my journey started about 2.5 years ago. It was on April 12th of 2022. I was weighing in at 254 pounds at only being 5 feet 4 inches. And my family and I, we traveled to Florida, which we do every Easter time. And we decided that we were going to go to a beach on Easter Sunday morning. And we traveled there. Of course, I was not wearing a bathing suit. My family were, had their bathing suits on. I was fully clothed from head to toe, knowing that I was going to be sitting on this hot beach and sweating under this umbrella that we had. And so there I was, exactly how I pictured myself, sitting on Juno Beach, fully clothed from head to toe. And I'm looking around and I see all of these people from ages 3 years old all the way up to probably 80, all enjoying themselves in the water, the ocean, the sand, wearing bathing suits, some wearing bikinis, some wearing one-piece bathing suits. And here I was just sitting on a towel underneath an umbrella, miserable. And something just kind of came over me when I was having this epiphany and just looking around. I said, I really have to do something. I'm not sure what I have to do it, but I really need to get rid of this weight loss. Leading up to that point, it was very difficult for me to do many, many things. Walking upstairs, just getting winded, just speaking with people. Clothing was not the same. I couldn't wear the same clothing that, I would love to wear. And so that was the beginning. Again, I'm going to say that's the first day of the rest of my life. And so which is actually the title of my book, which we'll get into. So I'm super excited about that. But I said, this is going to be the first day of the rest of my life. I have to make a change here. There's no way I can keep going like this. And it's a mindset. Like, I was convinced that I was going to be heavy for the rest of my life. This is the way I was going to look. This is how I was going to feel until that day. And I don't know what it was that just came over me. I don't know if it was the setting, but something just kind of said, no, you need to make a change. You need to make it now. So that day, later on that day, of course, being of Italian descent, we were going to an Italian restaurant for Easter. And usually, what do we usually order? Pasta, big bowls of pasta, right? Big bowls of pasta. And so the waiter went around, took everyone's order. And then he came to me last. And I said, well, I'm going to have some grilled salmon with some steamed vegetables. And my family looked at me like, what? What? You're not having pasta? You're not having chicken cutlets? You're not having eggplant? What is this? So that's when I announced to my family, I said, family, this is the first day of the rest of my life. And they couldn't understand what I was saying. I said, no, I'm making a change, not just a diet. I said, this is a lifestyle change. My mindset has completely changed at the moment we were at Juno Beach earlier today. And so I had my steamed vegetables, I had my grilled salmon, I had no dessert, I drank water with lemon. And I knew going back to Jersey, I know I had to do something, but I wasn't sure what I was going to do. So originally I thought, okay, let me see a surgeon. Maybe I could have surgery to start the process. And so I went to the surgeon and she had said, yes, she says, yes, we can do the surgery, but I would love for you to lose at least 20 pounds first. And I said, wait a minute, I'm coming to you because I don't know how to lose this weight. How am I going to lose 20 pounds? And she's like, no, I'm going to have you work with a nutritionist because that's part of the process. Okay. So I connected with a nutritionist and I started to follow some of his suggestions. And the weight started to come off. And I started to lose the weight that she wanted me to lose. By the time I went back to her, I had tweaked some things and added some things on my own, started to do some research, started to take some supplements, started to take a protein shake in the morning with all of these added supplements that go into the shake. I started to exercise. And just by changing my entire lifestyle, working with the nutritionist, by the time I went back to the surgeon, I had lost 40 pounds. And so the surgeon was like, I'm sorry, I cannot do the surgery on you. And I'm like, why not? And she's like, you're doing it on your own. Just keep going. Like she was my cheerleader. She kept motivating me. And so I have to say, so a good support system is tremendous when you're on this type of a journey. So I had support of my family, I had support of my friends. I would text everybody in a group chat, I lost 10 pounds, I lost 5 pounds, I lost, this, and everybody would like be cheering me on. And then, the clothes started to get big on me and people started to notice the weight loss. And it was just very motivating for me that I had these cheerleaders in my back corner. And it was about, I guess, 6 months into my journey. I'm also an educator. I'm a science educator. And one of my students came in, and this is how this leads into how I became a model and actress as well. She came into my classroom and she was wearing this beautiful sweater. And I asked her, where did you get the sweater from? And she's like, well, you can't buy it in the store. And I said, oh, somebody made it. And she said, no. She says, I walked in New York Fashion Week and one of the designers gave it to me as a gift. And, we were talking a little bit and she had known me from the years before. And she said, you've lost a lot of weight. If you have an interest in modeling, why don't you connect with my agent? And to make a long story short, I spoke with the agent. I spoke with the agent's team, and I was signed right on the spot. And my first commercial was the ShopRite 2023 ShopRite Can commercial as background. And I did that 3 days after I signed my contract. And it's been amazing since then. And so moving forward, I think my big break was when I did New Jersey Fashion Week, which was in February of 2023. It was February of 2023. Now, I just want to rewind for a moment. A month prior to that, I ended up having a stroke 1 month before I walked in my first fashion show. And the stroke affected my left eye. I went blind in my left eye. And luckily for me, as an educator, my school is located across the street from a hospital. So I went directly to the hospital and they diagnosed me, having the CAT scan and MRI, they confirmed that I did have, in fact, a stroke in my left eye. Not knowing whether I was going to have the vision come back at all, I was admitted to the hospital doing, vision therapy. The next morning, there was a priest that came in and he had said, would you like to pray? Would you like to have communion? I understand that you are Catholic. Would you like to do that? And I said, sure. And so we prayed, I received communion. He left. This was like almost 7:30 in the morning. And so where my bed was, it was like next to a window. And all of a sudden the sun started to shine through the window. And it almost felt like my eye was getting massaged. It was a crazy, crazy feeling. And then all of a sudden it was like a curtain just came back and I was able to see again within less than 24 hours. It was the craziest thing ever. And from that moment on, I've been able to see. No one believed me. I had to literally go through eye tests like you couldn't imagine because they took my license away from me. I couldn't drive for 3 weeks or so. But I was determined to walk in that New Jersey Fashion Week because it was to raise funds for breast cancer awareness. And sure enough, 4 weeks later, I was cleared. They gave me my license back. I walked in New Jersey Fashion Week. The North Jersey newspapers did a huge lifestyle article on me. It was like 2 pages. And from there, First for Women magazine picked up on that article and did a huge article on me and my weight loss. And then I was on the cover of Women's World magazine, and they did a huge article on me as well. They featured me. I just recently did a podcast about 2 months ago with them as well. And so it's been one thing after the other. I've been in two vertical series. A movie is coming up. I was casted as a newscaster, which was a huge role, and that's coming out in the spring of 2025. I've been on the Aaron Hernandez, the American Sports Story Gladiator, the new one on FX. I was featured background a couple of times there. I worked with Patrick Schwarzenegger, and it's been quite a ride. It has been amazing. And so now at age 60, so I turned 60 in July, I am excited to see where this new career is going to take me. Whew, that was a lot.
It's crazy. Such a
Yeah,
such a awesome and inspiring story because it's not, I mean, it's got a mixture of all of the things. It's got the hard work and perseverance, it's got the
right.
belief, and it's also got a bit of luck, like good fortune, and it's kind of like the perfect thing. Like you put yourself in a place where something good could happen and you didn't give up or just be like, oh, whatever, it's too difficult. And I mean, it's interesting. Like when you were saying that, I was thinking about how I thought that it was first off very interesting that the doctor who was working with you didn't was like, let's not do the surgery. It's like a lot of times you think like, oh, they want to make money or whatever, and like, and
Exactly.
so when you
Hmm.
get someone like that, I mean, the whole idea of mindset and the importance of it, it's like you could pay to fix a problem, and this applies to actors looking to grow their careers. I mean, some actors actually just recently I was asked by someone like, hey, there's projects where you could pay to get on set and have a speaking role in something. And they're like, what do you think of that? And generally, I mean, that's not going to really help your career at all. Like, first off, it's just like in your case, if you pay for something, an instant result, it's not going to help your confidence and all, right? Because
Hmm.
it's kind of like it feels like, oh, I cheated. I didn't really do this or earn it or whatever.
Hmm.
B, you're not developing the knowledge and skills and mindset that you need to be able to sustain that long term. It'll just be a one-off thing. And then, I mean, in
Right.
case of weight, it could come back over time. And then C, of course, I mean, specifically for actors, like casting directors don't care about those sorts of things anyway. But I thought also that it was interesting how you're talking about that single moment where you're sitting there on the beach and thinking about that. And I found that in my own fitness journey, it was also a single moment as well that actually led to a lot of other changes because fitness, almost interestingly, fitness and health are kind of, in many cases, they can change how you interact in all ways of your life, even though it looks like on the surface it's just fitness. For
Right.
me, my moment was in this coaching program that I had signed up to be a part of. And one of the coaches there said to me, because I was like, oh, I really want it. He's like, what do you want? Like, what's something you'd love to change in your life? I'm like, I don't know. I really want to get into shape. I want to be healthier. I'm not. And so he's like, well, why don't you go to the gym? And I'm like, I don't know. I just don't have the time. I'm trying to run my business. I'm just really busy all the time.
Mhm.
Like, oh, okay. So basically, you're telling me that you're not smart enough to figure it out when there's other people who are way busier than you, way more successful, and they can figure it out. And I was like, are you kidding me? And so then I was like, no, I could do this. And then I joined the gym and I just started becoming like really regimented. And over time, the discipline, I learned something about long-term goals versus short-term shortcuts there.
Right.
And fitness is a long-term journey and you have to keep working at it over time. And then you develop the habit to be able to apply the same thing in your career and in the
Right.
other areas of life, which is so important. So
It is so true.
my next question sort of was covered already about, can you talk about how you've worked through some of these major challenges you've experienced in life? If you have anything else that you want to add to that question, you can. Otherwise, the question that I think would really make sense now is for you to talk a little bit about the mindset. I mean, we covered some of that, but how important is having the right mindset? What role has mindset specifically played in your life?
Oh my goodness. The mindset is, it's incredible how the mind can really overtake your entire being. And so if your mindset is not in a positive direction, or goal setting, then you're just feeling like you're just kind of all over the place. Like you just don't know what you should be doing or how to go about doing it. There's a support system out there, and I'm sure everyone has that support system to help motivate you, and that motivation really sets your mindset, or helps that mindset to change. And but the original mindset was like, I can't do this. There's no way. I'll never be able to lose weight. I have Hashimoto, which is a thyroid condition. I was blaming anyone, everything out there, that it couldn't be done. And I just kept plummeting. I mean, I just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And that moment, that epiphany that I had, it was like, yes, you can do this too. If this woman at 80 years old can wear a bikini, I can wear at least a one piece bathing suit at some point. And I said, no, I'm going to challenge myself to do it. There was no turning back. I knew from that moment on, it was going to be a long haul. I knew I was going to face challenges along the way, but I knew that I could do it. I knew that I was strong enough to be able to do it and to get through it. You know, sometimes with weight, it's really psychological. A lot of it is psychological. You know, you don't know what people are going through. Are they going through depression? Are they having issues at work? You know, at home life? All that combination of things kind of set me into a downward spiral. And I had to stop that spiral. And that was the moment. That was the moment that I said, this is it. I'm done. And I never looked back. Like I said, I've had challenges where I've plateaued, but I've worked through it. You know, I sought out different resources to be able to help me to make that change, in that lifestyle that I have, this healthy lifestyle. And the neurologist did tell me, your stroke, my stroke, the healing process, the fact that you even healed from the stroke, is all due to the weight loss and to living a healthy lifestyle. So when I heard that, I was like, okay, maybe that was the reason, well, initially why I needed to feel like I felt like this burning and sensation inside of me that I had to lose this weight. And who knows, maybe that's what was coming down the pike for me. And the interesting thing is, it is very true. The condition that you're in, if you experience something that happens in your life, medically, can change your trajectory. And she did say, she said that your outcome could have been a lot different. You could have been stayed blind. You could have had, the stroke could have been worse, or you might have, died from it as well. Many people do die from strokes. So the message that I want to get out there is that it doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter at what place you're in your life. At that moment, when you decide to make the change, you can make that change. And there are plenty of resources out there to help you make that change. You just have to reach out for them.
Nice.
Super important.
It is really, really crazy. I mean, there, at the end of the day, the mindset, I'm looking sort of as like, without the mindset, nothing is possible to change. With the mindset, everything becomes possible
Right.
as soon as you start taking the steps of looking into the how can I do it, and then
Right.
taking action on that. And so, if you don't believe that it's possible, then you're obviously never going to look for solutions. You're just going to complain about it or
Hmm.
be unhappy about it all the time. So, I think one book that was really helpful for me, I mean, I've read a lot about self-development and studied different people, experts on different topics and everything. And a book that I really enjoyed, what was it called? I believe it's called The Success Principles by Jack Canfield.
Hmm.
I love the chapter that made the most difference for me was the first chapter. I think it's called something like "Take 100% responsibility for your life."
Hmm.
How like the more that you look at yourself and say like, I'm in the situation that I'm in primarily because of my own action or inaction of changing,
Hmm.
and the more responsibility that you take, and then you start to realize that you have the ability to change your situation, and
Right.
that mindset of being like, it's actually possible to change my situation. But if you're blaming others or saying like, oh, I'm stuck here and there's nothing that I can do about it because of whatever,
Hmm.
then that's taking the power away from you. And in that way, you'll never convince yourself that you have the ability to change it. So it's kind of
Exactly.
becomes more hopeless. Even though it's a tough pill to swallow,
Hmm.
you just swallow it for your own benefit and be like, hey, even if I'm not really responsible for all of this stuff, like maybe some stuff was just dumb luck or other people did stuff to me, I'm still gonna freaking take responsibility for this because why not? That'll give
Right.
you even more strength to go forward and try to fix.
It's so true because leading up to that point, I just kept blaming others. I was not taking responsibility for myself. I blamed, like I said, my Hashimoto. I blamed, my medical conditions at the time. Oh no, I can't. I can't do this because of this. And so now the interesting thing is, I'm reversing all of those medical conditions, and I've been off of quite a few medications that I was on previously. So I'm taking responsibility for my own health. And this is how, I knew I was going to reach age 60 at some point. I started this journey when I was 58. And I'm like, why not reach 60 in a healthier, living a healthier lifestyle? And so that was my mindset and going into this whole thing. And, as far as the modeling and acting, that all came secondary, you know. And my message is, if I can help just one person through my message, then I have done my job. That is my goal, is to help at least one person.
Well, that leads to my next question here, which I mean, we've already provided a lot of info around this, but I'll ask it outright for other actors or even just if there's other non-actors, because I know some non-actors listen to this podcast as well.
Yes.
For people who are facing major challenges or seemingly insurmountable odds, what advice might you give them?
Never, never, ever give up. That's not even in your dictionary any longer. Those words are never, they're not even in your dictionary. Those need to just go to the wayside. It's always about, yes, I can do. That's the mantra. Like, yes, I can do this. And no matter how old I am, no matter what condition I'm in, yes, I can do this. And I want to do this. And that's what my book is about, is to help others get to the point where their mindset can change. And some people will say, well, how do I change my mindset? And I'm going to leave that for my book. But yes, you can change your mindset, and to keep that mindset. And no, sometimes it's a struggle and it's hard to keep that mindset. But again, there's so many other factors that can help support that positive mindset moving forward. And there's so much resources and free resources that are out there. And in my book, I do tell you how to find those resources and what you can get for free or low cost. And it's just like I said, it's been an amazing journey, and I've helped a lot of people along the way. especially when I was in women's world. People follow me on Instagram, and they ask the questions, is this okay? Should I be eating this? How did you lose all this weight? And so I do give, like some tips and whatnot through Instagram as well. But the book is extraordinary because it is motivating as well. It is going to motivate you to want to make that change. And I'm super excited. I'm super excited. Can't wait to share it with you when it does come out.
Nice. So, just a bit of advice that I heard from a mentor, and it makes a lot of sense when you just think about it straight up. I mean, generally speaking, there should be no concern or reason not to buy a book these days. Because I mean, if you ever spend money on lunch, books cost the same amount as lunch or even less in many cases.
Hmm.
Yet the value that you can get, even if you only learn one thing, it could change the trajectory. And as you take that out further and further over your life, that one little thing that you learned and applied will make way more than the 10 or whatever dollars it costs to buy the book. So the advice that I learned from my mentor is if you're thinking about buying a book or you're considering that a book might have some value, just buy it and at bare minimum skim through the book to find some value out of it, because doing that, buying books, even as the simplest, most straightforward thing, is a form of taking action. And the more that you take action, the more that you start to build the habit of taking action.
Exactly.
That can change everything.
Oh, yeah.
And one thing that I think that I'll add about the whole advice, I mean, you started with don't give up, and that is obviously extremely important. And I think that what I want to add to that is sometimes people can think like, oh, don't give up. So I'm going to keep trying to do this thing, even if it's not working. Right. And what everybody has to remember is that you should be focused on what the outcome is, not the way that you're getting to the outcome. So if your goal is, let's say, to lose the weight, and you're like, oh, I need to keep forcing myself to not eat dessert or something every day, right? And you think that that is the solution, and then you're just like, I can't give up on stuff. Eventually, you're going to burn yourself out, or you're just not going to work.
Right.
The outcome is how to lose the weight that you want to lose. There might be a million different ways to get there. And
Right.
so you test things and give it some time, obviously, for each test. Don't just have shiny object syndrome where you jump from one thing to the next to the next, but
Right.
try skipping dessert. But if you find that that's not working, then maybe you're like, hey, maybe I do like dessert. Maybe I'll just cut back and eat some less dessert, but I can still enjoy that. And maybe instead I'll try doing a walk every day or something else.
Hmm.
So the whole idea is that you don't give up on the outcome, but you can give up on the specific approach that you're taking if it's not working.
Exactly. Well said. Yes. Yes, absolutely.
All that said, my last question is there anything else that you'd like to share with anyone listening today?
The only thing that I want to say is that you can change your life right where you stand. Literally, if you're listening to this podcast, you can change your life right now, right today. And your life is in your hands. You are responsible for your life. And so if you want to make that change, you can do it. Today is the first day of the rest of your life.
Love it. Yeah. So, so important. You do have the ability to change things. It's
Yes.
not impossible. It's like, you know what? Screw it. That's what I said to myself. I'm like, you know what? Screw it. Let's just do this,
Right. Right.
why not? Let's try it. And
Yeah.
once you start moving and you see it, I like to set things up for some quick wins at the beginning. Like what can I do to actually see some results? And I look for it, whether it's like fitness and hey, I'm actually adding weight to the bar and I'm getting stronger. And then like one day you go to pick up the laundry basket thing and it's like, oh, this is light.
Right.
Those things, notice the changes and get excited about those so that you really just enjoy the process of moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Me weighing in every week and seeing the pounds shed. My first week, I lost 10 pounds. I was like, wow, this is crazy. I actually can do this. It started to, dwindle from there, but it was consistent. And I was putting in that work. I was going to the gym. I was doing now recently, doing something called resistance training also, which is a new method, a new approach to strengthening your muscles and the bones, actually. It's very good if you have osteoporosis. And so all of these things, and this didn't come until recently with the resistance training. I just started to change a little things, as I was going along, and it made the difference because I did plateau at one time. But then when I made a little change here, a little change there, it started to make those pounds go down again. Yeah.
So good that you reminded that idea, because sometimes when people are like, "Hey, screw it, let me do this," they can overwhelm themselves by trying to do everything at once, right?
Yes.
But
Yes.
just doing small things one at a time and then slowly adding. It's like, all right, I want to completely change my physique, let's say. Hey,
Hmm.
you know what? I'm gonna just I want to work out 3 days a week, but maybe I'll just do like two exercises each time. I'm not going to go like 6 hours of training and then change my diet completely and do all these things at the beginning. Do what's comfortable for you, what excites you, and then slowly add to it. Change those little things, as you said, one at a time, so
One
that
at a
you
time.
don't
Mhm.
overwhelm and burn yourself out.
Exactly. It's not like you're not revamping your whole life like in 1 second. It's not going to happen. So just slowly make those slow changes, and you are going to see you will get those quick wins in the beginning. And those quick wins for me was the getting on the scale every week and having my cheerleaders, behind me, my motivators. And they were like, hey, keep going. They were positive, positive sayings that kept me going.
Don't spend too much time with the people who fight against you, or don't talk about it because there are going to be people like, oh, you shouldn't be wasting your time doing that. Like I've definitely experienced that. And if that's the case, I don't even talk to them about it. I'll still hang out with the people, but I just won't talk about my fitness journey or something if the person
Right.
is like, oh, you're being ridiculous, because why do you need that negativity?
Exactly. And they're not in the same mindset or mind frame of mind that you're in. And so when you're not in sync with that other person, it's very hard and difficult to talk with them about what you're going through in terms of, your journey. And so you can still I still am friends with them, but if they're not, interested in it, we just don't talk about it. They're not in the mindset yet to make that change. And that's okay. Sometime down the road, they will have that mindset change
Yeah.
when they're ready. They have to be ready.
We have to be respectful too. One last thing that is really an interesting thing, you may have experienced this, but it's like when you start something, when you're like totally into it, you feel like compelled to share a lot of free advice with people who don't want it.
Right.
You don't want to fall into that trap either.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. So I'm putting all of that advice into the book.
Nice. That's
And
awesome.
when it does come out, I think
Yeah, how can people get in touch with you if they have questions or they want to reach out or pick up a copy of the book? Share a little bit about that now.
yeah, absolutely. I am on Instagram. So my handle is which is my first name, Szalay, Szalay 01. And so that is my handle on Instagram. You'll find pretty much my whole journey, my weight loss journey on there. You will see some of my pictures of modeling from New York Fashion Week to New Jersey Fashion Week, to First for Women magazine and Women's World magazine. You'll see my reel from my vertical series that I've done. So a lot of my work is on there as well. But I do answer anyone who has questions. Will be happy to take their questions.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's so generous of you. For someone who has taken the time to actually turn all the things you know into a book, means that you are very well versed in these topics because you think about it and try to figure out how to put it together. So
Right.
that means that someone like you it's just amazing to have that access, that you're open to answering people's questions and interacting and everything. So thank you for that. This was amazing. I really, really appreciate having you today. I think that we learned a lot
Yeah.
of things, and I'm very, very excited.
Thank you, Martin. Thank you for having me on your show. I'm so glad I was able to speak with you and your listeners.
Yeah, thank you so much. Have a great day.
You too. Thank you.
Well, thanks for listening. Now, if you want to dive deeper on mindset, I highly recommend checking out my podcast called The 3 Traits You Must Develop to Book Major Acting Roles, which is episode number 85. You'll learn all about how mindset, strategy, and acting technique work together to create long-term success in your acting career. Check it out. Again, it's episode number 85, 3 Traits You Must Develop to Book Major Acting Roles on the Actor's Career Compass. Thanks so much, and I'll see you soon.